Hey y'all, the business of marriage has taken it to the streets. We are in St. Albans Park today, and we are getting ready to let people come on and tell me and ask me all kinds of questions about the relationship. So listen, don't go anywhere. It's about to start. Ready? Let's go.
A relationship is strengthened by trust, communication, patience, compromise, intimacy, finance, and respect. These are the building blocks of a long-lasting union. And once you sign on the dotted line, it becomes the business of marriage. To Death Do Us Part. Hosted by Serrina Goodman.
I'm the one with the answers. So if you got some questions, I'm the one you need to ask. On Sunday night at 7 p.m. on YouTube Live, you can see and hear the business of marriage to Death Do Us Part. I'm the host, and I am so honored to be out here with you this evening. So how many courageous people want to ask me a question? Anything. So the podcast is all about people who want to get married, people who are married, or those of you who want to get out of marriage. I'm the lady with the answers to your questions. Now I want to tell you right now, do not ask me any questions that you don't want the answer to, because I'm going to keep it 100 with you. So if you ain't courageous and you don't really want to know the answer, then I'm the person that you don't want to talk to. So who's going to come up and ask me a question? All right, Milton. DJ, if you can turn the music down for me.
Who has a question?
Milton, it's a question.
How you doing? What's your name?
My name's Nicola, and this is my question.
Okay.
How do you deal with men being constantly intimidated by women who are successful?
So her question, for those who didn't hear it, is how do we handle men who are intimidated by women who are successful? So I fall in that category. So now, I've been married twice. My first marriage, I was too young and a little dumb, but I got wise real fast. My second marriage, unfortunately, my husband passed away from cancer. So I can tell you that there are successful marriages. Now, you want to know how to deal with them. The first thing you do is don't dumb yourself down. Don't you dumb yourself down for anybody. If anybody have a problem with you being successful, then that's not the man for you. Everybody, my mama used to always tell me, I'm from Baltimore, and my mama used to tell me that every tub got to stand on their own legs. You understand? So if you get a man who has an issue with you being successful, it's usually because he's not all that successful. Now I'm going to tell you, brothers, and women, if you get a come up, this is what you do. You met somebody who's got it going on and you're still working and you're a work in progress, that's okay. What's not okay is to pull her back to where you're at. That's not okay. Never okay. And for any of the women out there, I want to tell you something. Every single pot has its lid. And if that thing's your lid, then that pot got to go. All right? Anybody else got a next question for me?
Next question.
Next question. Come on. And listen, brothers, you can ask me some questions too, because I got some answers for you. So if you got questions, just ask me. I'll be happy to tell you. Who else got a question?
Anybody got a question? Come on.
Now we don't have any married folks in here that trying to figure out why or how to get out. Because I can tell you that during the pandemic, there's some things that happened. When we got quarantined together, you know what happened? Some people said, you know what? I'm glad I had some time with my mate, right? Some extra time. Some people say, I really don't like you. Yeah, hello? And I know some of them folks is in here today, and it's all right if you don't want to put your hand up, because you know this might be a little too much for you, and you do got to go back home with those people that you tried to figure out what the heck you was doing with them. And one other category is the jump-offs. It was a rough time for the side chicks during the quarantine. Can I talk? Can somebody let me talk? Is it all right for me to say this? Okay, so there was a rough time for those who were the jump-offs during the quarantine. Why? Because you got to stay in the house with your significant other that you were married to, and you could not get out to the side chick at all. And you was trying to go get milk like 5 times a day, and she said, we got enough milk, and you ain't got to go out and get no more milk. Now, y'all know what I'm talking about. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Y'all don't have to agree. Y'all don't have to say nothing. Who got a question for me? You look like you got one.
Where you from?
This beautiful sister.
My name is Cam from Jamaica, Queens.
Hey, Cam.
Hi, all right. So my question is actually one of my friend's questions, but what do you do when you're dating someone? You're doing everything, every single thing that you do in a relationship, but he doesn't want to be in a relationship.
Okay.
So basically, it's a situationship.
Yeah.
So it's like we're doing everything. We're going out, we're spending time having fun, but you don't want to have that commitment yet.
Yeah. All right. So the thing that you do with something like that is you got to figure out your own worth. See, there's a time when you got to figure out what you want, right? And if just going out and being entertained, listen, you could go to the circus and see a clown. You don't got to go to the circus every week, though, but every now and then you go see the clown, right? You got to decide for yourself what it is that you want. If that's not what you want, then you're wasting time. Most of the time, you should be dating with a purpose. If you're not dating with a purpose, then all you are is a serial dater, and that's it. And that's what you got is what you got. But if you don't demand that you want something else, that person is not for you. If they don't want a relationship, there's a reason they don't want a relationship. And you're probably better off with them being honest enough to tell you they don't want a relationship than to string you along, waste your time when you could have met a man that wanted a relationship and would build with you. Yeah. And now, it's not easy because you like to have fun. We all like
You build so much time.
Yeah, you put time in. But see, remember too, relationships are an investment. You invest your time, you invest your money because you got to do your hair, you got to do your, come on now, let's talk. You got to do a lot of stuff to get ready for that date. We got to make sure everything is in order, everything is right. That takes time and energy. Don't waste that time or energy on somebody who's not going to put that time in for you. You understand? That's it. You're talking about years. Some people put in decades with someone. And then you didn't get married, you didn't get nothing, and then he turns around and marries somebody else. Okay, that's a whole nother question. That's a whole nother podcast topic. Thank you for your question.
Do we got a male guest?
All right, do I have one man who's courageous enough to ask me a question?
Can two people in a relationship can be successful and still have a wholesome relationship? Can that happen? Two people.
Absolutely. But there's some conversations that have to take place because y'all can't be beating each other to the door, right? You have to sit down. You're going to have to share each other's schedule, where your time is, and you got to make date night. You got to create one night at least that's just for the two of you where everyone else is blocked out and you spend some quality time working on your relationship. If you don't do that, even if both people are financially secure, the relationship is not going to work. You have to put time in. Everybody talk about they want to be in a relationship, but they don't want to put the work in. Relationships are not easy. How many people in here had an easy relationship? Let me hear you clap. Oh, I don't hear anything. Relationships are not easy. Relationships take a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of energy. It is not easy, but it's rewarding. If you have a great relationship, it's rewarding. Any more questions? Can I get a question from any man that's not Uncle Milton? Because
No, I'm going to say next question. Damn man is scared.
Next
Damn
question.
man is scared out here. Come on, man.
Anybody want to? Young people, you can ask me some questions too, because I've been around for a
I ain't wanna
minute.
do it.
My question is, how long should you be in a relationship when you're not just dating or whatever? How long should you be in a relationship when you know you want to get married? How long should that relationship last before somebody say, I do want when you married?
Okay. That's a good question.
Relationship, long 5-year relationship. No, they got.
Okay.
So anyway, I don't want to be in another long.
I don't blame you.
relationship, like going on.
Yeah.
I'm just getting in a relationship.
No, this one you're with.
Okay, so Arlene's question was, how long should you be in a relationship if they're not popping the question? And, right? Before somebody is supposed to say or talk about this marriage thing, right? I'm going to say to you, the first 6 months of a relationship, you should date. Now, what dating is dating is gathering data. That's why you call it dating. When you skip the steps, what happens is you go from, hey, how you doing, to the bedroom. You miss all the other stuff in between, right? So what I'm going to say is that if after 6 months, you don't see yourself having those conversations with him, then he's not looking at you as marriage material. Because men know what's marriage material for them. They got criterias that they set, just like we set criterias. They don't always tell us about it because they still want the honey from the honey pot. And so they're not going to tell us what it is all the time. They'll go along and along with it. As long as you go along with it, they're going to go along with it. So I'm going to say, if in 6 months he hasn't even approached the question or the conversation, then you know that that's not on his mind. They can be scared. I mean, listen, fear is okay. But see, where I come from, faith and fear don't live in the same house. You understand? That's where I come from. Right?
Is it safe to say, right, when you first start dating, is it safe to say, you don't have to be you, but don't you got to get the criteria, you got to know, what is the motive, what is the end game? Is it that, what are you looking for, what are you going to do?
Everybody should have criteria. Yeah, everybody
should. You have
should.
to start off with that. You know, what do you want to do? No, you got to be with me, but what is the end game? If you just dating, like she says, serial dater, you just doing that, or what are you doing? Once you get that together, then you know.
And that all happens during the dating phase. During the dating phase, you ask the questions. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. People don't ask the questions because they don't want to hear the answers. You don't want to say, you know, what do you think of marriage? And the guy, then he says, well, I don't never want to get married. So now you're like, dang, like, what's mama do now? Because you asked the question, may not have been ready for the answer. I'm going to say 6 months, start making a dialogue. I just want to hear what he's thinking. You don't want to go on. Who wants to be dating somebody for no 6, 7 years? What is this? I know 7 is a magical number in the Bible, but ain't nobody trying to wait 7 years for anything to happen. You're welcome.
Are you ready? What's your name?
Come on, Miss Icy Lady, you on my stage.
My name is Melissa.
Hi, Melissa.
I live in Connecticut.
Okay.
So I'm not married or engaged or nothing.
Okay.
But I do have a general question. How should I feel if my boyfriend or whatever decides to marry me and he asks for a prenup?
Okay. So so this is a really good question because that's one of the topics that we handle on our show. Now, I would never get remarried ever again without a prenup. One is because I believe in generational wealth, and I have children, and I want to make sure that I pass down my empire to my children. I don't want that empire to now go to somebody else's family should the marriage not work. If the person asks you for a prenup, it's because he's thinking, if not now, that he has some assets, that in the future he will have some assets. So the other thing is to make sure you read that prenup very closely, because it could be any assets that you bring into the marriage or any assets that you two attain together. You want to make sure that it's things that came into the marriage in the prenup, because what happens if you give them a great idea for a business and your husband and wife, you want a piece of that action. So you're not going to sign for anything that happened while you're married. Only the things that were acquired before you're married. And you shouldn't feel any sort of way, because it's the business of marriage. Marriage is a business. Marriage is a merger between your company and my company. And if you got bad credit, and if your company is not going well, I am not going to merge my company to your company, and that's the business of marriage. You're welcome.
Next question. What's your name?
My name is Santua.
A Santua?
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
From Long Island, New York.
Hey.
And my question is, what do you feel about younger women dating older guys?
All right, so I'm going to ask you a question first. So was your father active in your home as a child? Give it a mic. Yes.
My
Okay.
mom and dad, they've been together for 38 years.
Okay.
And it's like the same age gap.
Okay. And it worked well for them. Right. Sometimes, I don't think it's always a bad thing, but it depends on what you want and that you're realistic. Because when there's a significant age difference, see how you want somebody to do certain things a certain way, there's going to be a point where that may not necessarily happen like that. And if you are okay with that, right, then you're going to be okay. Now, if one point you're not going to be okay with that he's older than you, and so keeping up with you may not be realistic. If you're because there's some babies out here, but if you're okay with that, then you're going to be fine. I asked you if there was a father in the household because I wanted to know if you were looking for a replacement father. A lot of times, a lot of very young women will get with older men. They have that whole paternal thing going on. But that's not your case. Your parents were together. You've seen healthy relationships. You know what they look like. So since you know what they look like, I wouldn't be concerned with you about it. I really wouldn't. As long as you guys got a great understanding, you know your role and he knows his role, I'm not concerned with it at all.
I got a question. He's 24 and he's
28.
42?
And 42.
Let's say thing that you got in common.
We like basketball. Like, I'm a tomboy, so we get along. Like, we listen to the same music, we got the same job.
It's fine.
That's how we started talking. But I feel like I can't really express like my feelings for him because he's so older. And when I tell people, they be like, "What does he want with you?" So it kind of makes me feel like that. But I know what he like wants. It's the same thing, but it's like we're doing everything that you do in a relationship, but we're not in a relationship.
Because of you, or because of him?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm still growing too. I'm very selfish.
Okay, that's
I got a lot of
fine.
issues. I don't know. It's a lot.
You know what? I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to applaud you for something right now, right? I'm going to applaud you for something. Because you know what it is that you've already done some work on yourself, right? And that's the thing. People want to get in relationships and they don't want to do the work on themselves. It's not just the work in a relationship. It's two people coming together, right? But I'm going to bring my whole self, all of it, my whole self, and the other person going to bring their whole self. But see, you already know you got some issues, right? You got to work through before you make the commitment. There's nothing wrong with that. I commend you for that. And that's a smart move for 28. I know some women 48 and ain't done it yet. So commend you for that. I'm applaud you for that.
Thank you for your question. Any other questions?
You have a question?
Where's the males at?
He hanging around, but he don't want to ask no question. No men don't want to ask him. So listen now, while I wait for somebody to ask me the question, I want y'all to make sure you stop over at this table right here. This is my manager right there. She's right there, Teresa Wave. So we got some sanitizers over there for you, but we got a mailing list too. And if you ever want to talk to me one-on-one via Zoom, you can do that. You can schedule appointments with me if you have some really serious questions. You can actually ask questions when we're live on the air. So I want to make sure that we have your contact information so we can all stay in touch. So make sure you see Teresa before you leave the park today. Anybody else got a question? I love the young women. They are not afraid to ask the questions. I don't know what's wrong. Come on, sisters. Where my brothers at?
Where you at?
Where y'all at to come and ask the questions? Oh, y'all scared. Oh, my Lord. I know this brother right here. He know I've been speaking truth. This brother right here know I've been speaking truth. The podcast is for those who want to get married, those who are already married, and some people who are contemplating getting out of marriage. Some marriages can be salvaged. Some marriages can survive cheating. Some marriages can survive infidelity. Some marriages can survive not so great things happening in the bedroom. A lot of marriages can survive a lot of things. More than you think. More than you think.
Why do females give men ultimatums?
Because I really want to.
Wow, okay, that's a good question. He asked, why do women give men ultimatums? Because they want to know. And after a while, you know what? My mama used to say this too. See, I told you I was from B-More, so my mama used to say this. We got a whole bunch of saying. She used to say either poop or get off the pot. So that's the reason why at a certain point a woman is going to give you an ultimatum, because she's like, look, what's up here? Like, we could go on with this 5, 6, 7 years. You ain't asking me to get married. You're not talking about living together. I'm not a big advocate for living together. That's a whole nother, another episode. But I think that that's a conversation that should be had. People are not having those conversations, and they should have those conversations. And that's the reason why she's giving you the ultimatum, because she wants to know, like, how long are we going to go on with this thing? So that's the reason why.
I got a question for Eric. And this is for the men point of view.
Mom, help me out.
No, Ma, stay there.
Come on, Ma.
Listen, ultimatum, right? Ultimatum. So you don't understand when it's in the man's head about ultimatum. Because when we hear ultimatum and we ain't ready to buy the car, we still kicking the tires. We want to test drive.
That's right.
We want to do, you know what I'm saying? But you got to understand, right, with the ultimatums, you don't ask for stuff, right, to let them compromise themselves. You just say, okay, I'm still kicking the tires, I'm still test riding the car, I'm still seeing what's going on, so let me do this. Let's just relax with the ultimatums, right, because there's levels to this. Let me relax the ultimatum, give me some time, give me a month or two or whatever, and I'm gonna make a decision on this first before we move forward. You know what I'm saying? So that's with anything. That's anything. You have the power too. It's like
when you go to the car dealership, they ask you to give them their driver's license. You get to drive the car for all about 5 or 10 minutes. You don't get to drive that car for no 5 or 10 years while you think about it. So the answer is no. There is a point, and there's a cutoff point where you need to know what you want out of life. And if you don't have a vision for that woman in your life, then you need to leave her alone and let her find somebody that's a good match for her. And get out of the way. You blocking the next car in the driveway. Get out.
Sometimes it's not like
I don't want to hear it. That's the way it is. That's why you're the producer and I'm the host.
Next question.
Come on, give me another question. I'm ready.
I'm trying to map out the part. It's a long.
I'll tell your name first. And where you from? Your name, where you from?
I'm from Mimi. I'm from
You're
Queens.
Mimi? From where?
Queens.
Queens. Mimi from Queens.
Right there.
Okay. Don't tell people where your house at, Mimi. What's wrong with you? You gonna have all. You cute. You gonna have all the people lined up outside your house. Mimi live over there, y'all.
My question is, I'm gonna explain it, then you answer.
Okay, go ahead. You can get it out any way you need to, Mimi.
I've been dating someone for 5 years.
Okay.
We have a business together. We have a kid together. We live together. Yeah, but
they don't live together anymore.
No, he just moved like a week ago. But I'm in the urge, like, should I leave or should I start dating again or should I wait?
Okay.
Why did he?
Because we have a business together. Like, it's business. It's not just a relationship thing. It's more so business. We have a kid.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions. And if I ask you a question and you really let her have the mic, I'm gonna ask you some questions.
Okay.
If I ask you some questions and you're not comfortable with answering it, don't answer. You say, I'd rather not. It's okay. It's not gonna hurt my feelings. I want you to know that. Okay. All right. So you have a business together. Did at any point did the business relationship seep into the personal relationship or vice versa? Everything just stays separate all the time.
Yeah.
It did. Okay, so the business that you have, are you around each other every day in the business?
Every day.
Every day in the business, and then you come home and you every day at home.
Yep.
Okay, and why did he move out, or what reason did he give you for moving out a few weeks ago?
He feel like I'm a party person. He wants me to be home.
Oh.
I'm not
And you wasn't okay with that?
No.
Where did you see the relationship going? You've been in it 5 years. Where did you want it to go?
We was talking about getting engaged this year.
Okay.
We want to have a party and everything.
Okay.
But he wants me to stay home, and I'm not doing that.
You're not that? Okay.
No.
All right. And so he said he's moving on.
No, he said he's moving out.
He's moving out. What does moving out? What does moving out look? What does the break? See, this is the thing. Before you go out and start dating somebody else.
No, I'm not dating now.
No. I know. We're not. Listen.
Yeah.
We're not gonna put you out there like that. We're gonna say before you start dating or contemplating dating someone else, there's some questions you gotta ask. So you're gonna say, what does taking a break look like? because you better have the same definition that he has. See, the reason why people have problems in relationships is because my idea of cheating may not be your idea of cheating. My idea of commitment may not be your idea of commitment. So you're going to ask him, what does taking a break look like? Now, if he says, well, it means I see who I see, and if I find somebody who wants to be a homebody like me, then we're going to continue with the business, but the relationship is over, that part. Or he says, I just need some time to think things through, and I want you to think things through and see if we could come to a common place. If you like to party, would he consider going out with you once every other week?
Oh no, he goes out with me, but he works.
Right, so you shouldn't have to force anybody. That's the other thing.
I'm not saying like, oh,
you have to keep encouraging him to do it. It's not him.
Yeah.
See, this is the thing. And so you got to see what's most important for you. But before you start doing anything, because I tell you, when people start making that step and sleeping with somebody or, you know, going out with somebody else, sometimes there's no going back and there's no fixing it. So ask the questions and make sure that you both have the same definition. And I think you're going to be okay. And at the end of the day, look, maybe you'll just be great business partners. You'll just be great business, and that's fine. That might be it. And accept that to be it sometimes. That's the other thing. People hold on way too long. You got to know when to let go. But that's a beautiful question. Thank you for asking your question. All right, so it's getting ready to rain out here. So I think they're going to shorten us up. So I want to thank everyone for engaging with me this evening. You got one more question? Okay. All right. Ooh-wee. You know what? One entertainer to another entertainer. You listen, everybody got a gimmick. When Monique was out here, when she was a big girl, she hated skinny girls. Everybody got a gimmick. Watch what people gimmick are, right? My gimmick is I want to see healthy relationships among people, especially those who look like me. There you go. Thank you very much, everyone. I'm Serrina Goodman. Watch The Business of Marriage on Sunday at 7 o'clock on YouTube Live. Peace and blessings, y'all.